Yes, welder. Enjoy welding with LYG800H. I bought this a few weeks back. Kind of forgot about it because I haven't been doing any welding. I don't know if I went direct to Yes Welder or Amazon with this one, but I think it shipped through Amazon when I went through Yes Welder's site or something like that. But anyway, or maybe I looked them up on the site and there was a link. So yeah, any more writing? Not really. So basically that's it for the writing. Throw that over there with the box. First thing I pulled out of the box was this guide right here, which is really handy, right? So we go there, TIG, light, because we're doing body metal, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if you're doing small, you can go down to 9. If you're doing TIG, you can go down to 9. If you're doing PAW, you can go down to 8. Anyway, we'll figure that out. It's just a quick chart to get you started, as a lot of them do. Looks like it comes with a couple of these. Oh, there's a couple really big ones and one little one. We got our manual. We got a battery, so we're gonna have to put that in there. The price of this was under $100, so let's have a look at it. Now I've got tools everywhere and a big mess going on because, you know, I was in the middle of doing stuff. And I thought, let's do some welding this afternoon because I got an hour or two left. So, let's see what we got in the bag. So, I just picked that one because I thought, you know, great big old purple guy with some kind of crazy mouth, whatever. You can buy this in black and flames and an alien and a bunch of different things. So I just happen to like this, all the teeth. I thought it was kind of gross. Big old tongue, you know, Yes Welder. You can see that fancy writing, almost like they were trying to make it look like Venom or Carnage or something. But then they got all them weird eyeballs there. So that's just a sticker and we don't care about that. So let's see what we got going on. Okay. Just going to toss a couple things out of the way real quick. A couple sanders that we no longer need. And well, there's all the info if you want to know anything about that. Take a screenshot. And we're not going to bore you too much, so I'm going to find what we need to know to get started, and then we will come back. So the first thing that would drive me nuts is right here. There's a little lid here that comes off for the battery. There's a tiny little screw, takes a Phillips. Not going to knock the helmet for that because you're not going to be changing out your battery that much. At least let's hope not. But that could have been something better for sure. But keep in mind, this is a $100 helmet. After farting around with that tiny little screw, turns out there's a battery in there. So they must have sent a spare. Now down here there's a test button. Now I don't know if I can pull off showing you that, but we're going to try. So what you're seeing is all the way through the visor right now. You're looking through the glass. It's super clear, which I like. Goes dark pretty quick. Takes it a second to come back. So that's okay. So test means we're working. So right beside the test button there's a little light, and I guess if that light comes on it's a low battery indicator, and ours didn't flash when we hit test. And it's not on now, so we're good. Shade control. So that's all these. So we know what those do. Test button, blah, 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 blah. So the welder turns on when you start welding automatically. And it shuts off 15 to 20 minutes later. So that'll save your battery when you put your helmet down. So you don't have to turn it on and off. The test button, blah, 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 working, blah, 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 low battery, blah, 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 blah. That's all we need to know. And I'm just going through it because I want to see if they're telling us where to put it, or do we just have to, you know, finagle with it once we get her going. So I'm going to read a bunch of this stuff and come back. All right. So instead of us playing around with the welder and trying to do a crazy video, I had work to do, so we're just going to do the work. Let me show you what we've done here. You're looking at the bottom of a rocker on an F-150. So see if we can get a better focus on those, get a little light. And we basically just did plug welds. There's one there, we did a double plug weld. Here, let's come up and have a good look at that. Autofocus. There we go. Sorry about that. I had some focus thing on the camera. But as you can see, I can touch it now, so that's good. So here we got two side by side, and then one, and then one, and then one. Now they all look good. And then I don't know if I caught some rust or some dirt. You can see it went from a real nice one to that last one. There's a little bit crusty. Oh, it looks like there might be a little hole in that. We'll check that out after. Might have to weld that shut. But I'll grind those two off and just touch them up. The metal's on. It won't come off. You can see the inners on this aren't 100%. We could have sandblasted the hell out of them, but we decided let's just weld these ones on. So we cleaned up most of it. We cleaned up where all the spots were. And we did put a little bit of copper primer. Which I'm a little bit hit and miss on because I find that, you know, this is what I like to get. If you look at that plug, see if we can hide that. There we go. I'm trying to focus on it for you. But right, just simple plug welds, nothing crazy. This one didn't stick right away, so we hit it a second time, and I did one right behind it. So this is not coming off. This is on there. There's one there too. It was a little messed up, caught some dirt, so we just melted it out and kept going. But this basically is welded to the truck. Now we were going to glue this panel on. Now some glues say not to, some glues say to. Now I've heard different people comment about depending where they live. Anyway, I don't know how that works, but as far as I'm concerned, a rocker panel, in my opinion, should be welded on most of the time. Box sides, if it's just skins and patches, that can be glued. Now, if you do a box side, if you look at the instructions with most glue, you can glue these three sides, but running down the back here, often they'll tell you to weld. Now, there's different glues, different rules wherever you are. Now, this is a truck that it's surplus from the body shop down the street. They do collision work, a little bit of rust work. I usually do restoration, and I do a lot of trucks. So he asked if I'd help him out and do this for him. And he wanted me to glue that because he likes the idea of this being glued and it'll seal everything out. But I felt like this, we even sandblasted a few spots of it and whatnot. It's plenty thick and strong, but it didn't seem to be real nice. And I think if you can't clean it good enough for that glue to work, it may not. But I know if I can get that pool to go red hot and stick, that's not coming off. So that's what we're doing. So I don't like the rust through primer when I go through the little holes. So what I'll often do is put a broken drill bit on the end of my bit and just spin most of it off just so your heat gets a good ground. I'm using a MIG-PAC 180. I've got it on B. You could almost go on C, but on this truck we went on B and just held it a little longer for between 4 1/4 and 4 1/2. Now your speed's going to fluctuate even if you have the exact same welder as this, so keep that in mind. You got to adjust as you go for every welder. But if I go on B and I go here, I don't melt through. Now a lot of these pickups, when I do Dodge trucks, I always go on C and I run this at like 5, 5 1/2, and I make bigger holes. But this one I went a little slower so I can go up through the small hole. Now I've got 2 hole punches on what they call a crimping tool or a flange tool, and I got one with a big hole and one with a small hole. You can usually get 2 different sizes. On this one I use the small hole, and the reason why is I'm using the proper clamps to clamp it tight. Once it's tight, I go right to one edge, I drag it into the middle, and I hold it for a second. And the moment it starts to pool, and you can see it now, that's when you're going to want to, let it build a little bit and then start swirling it around, and then you fill up the hole, right? And that's how you get a nice rosette weld. Now the reason, there's my old welder. You could buy this at Napa, Canadian Tire. In the US, I'm assuming every part store had these. This works fine, but if you look at that purple part, that's your field of view. That isn't your whole field of view, but that is. So it's more than twice as tall. It's a little wider. Now there's another version of this helmet where you have a side panel on each side, which is great in a big shop because you can kind of get a little peripheral vision going. Sorry about that. But anyway, I went with this one because it's deeper this way. It's still plenty wide for me. And I thought, I'm not in a big setting where people are walking around doing stuff. I'm never standing. Whenever I'm welding, it's crawling down in under here, right? To put welds across, across through there, putting a floor in, that kind of thing. Rocker panels up underneath. So I thought, nice and wide, but really big this way. I gotta say, it's clear. And it has like a yellow tint. So what happens is when you're looking, it's almost like those old 80s or 90s sunglasses that made you see better because it made everything look a little brighter. That's what the helmet does. But the moment you hit that trigger, it darkens. But I find it doesn't darken quite the way this does. As in, this one almost makes you go blind that all you see is your arc bead or weld or pool, whatever, your weld pool. This one, you can still see what you're doing. So I'm going to say, look, for $100 Canadian, ordered through Amazon, yeah, I'm going to give the Yes Welder a big thumbs up. The only thing we didn't like was that little screw to put the battery in. But I mean, if that's the worst thing I got to live with, I really don't care. Awesome helmet. I'll probably take care of this one for a while. Comes with a few lenses. They do sell on Amazon, so you can replace all your lenses and all that if you're hard on stuff. Dirty. Like, look at the dirt stuck to it already, right? Because it's like magnetic after pulling the sticker off. But I mean, we'll just blow that off and it'll be fine. When I'm done using this one, I might actually just give it a quick blow off or a wipe and throw it back in the bag. Where my old one, I just throw it on top of the welder. And I'm going to be honest. Now, my old one was something you bought for $100 a long time ago when there was no Amazon or nothing like that, right? I don't even know who makes this. There we go, Antra. So this was like a cheap thing you could get a long time ago, and people had these everywhere. So, you could probably get them at Kmart. Who knows? Probably everywhere. It worked well for a long, long time, but what's happening is it's getting darker and darker and darker. It's just getting kind of aged out. And the viewing, this little viewing area is enough to get the job done, and that's about it. And the reality is there's so many companies making welders and, welding equipment now on the cheap that you can buy something like this and it works surprisingly well. Is this going to protect your face? I don't know. It's just a plastic shield. It's about vision and keeping the UV light off you, right? So that's what it does. It's not like a big crazy industrial thing. Now, Yes, Welder does have their $200 and $400 stuff and really cool stuff. They got one that looks like frickin' Boba Fett. But if all you're doing is doing body work and MIG welding, I think I got this for like 80 something, some kind of sale they had going. It looks cool. There's a sticker on it. I could have saved like $8 or something. It had no sticker. But, you know, you're going to be looking at it for a long time. And I just happen to like that one. The only thing I found when I welded that little spot, I was down there for like 5 minutes. So I was able to do it quick because this allowed me to see well, right? So fast is efficient, quality is efficient. You don't got to break the bank to go quality. That's the Yes Welder helmet, and it is LYG800H from Yes Welder. Thanks for watching.